guided sit. And really just taking your seat, if you haven't already, whatever that means for you, finding a dignified posture, if that's available, if you're able to sit tall, finding length in the spine. And if you're not, if your body is requiring you to be lying down or reclined or maybe standing, doesn't matter where you are in your physical form. Just finding some intentionality of the body right now. So this seated posture is traditionally pointed to as the dignified meditation practice, and it helps with energy if you're sleepy, but noticing any judgments you might have around what it means to be a good meditator. It's part of the practice of just fully being here in this moment without adding anything to what we should be or shouldn't be. And I wanted to start with a reading today on simple but not easy, which is what we're pointing to with this mindfulness meditation practice. And this is from the John Kabat-Zinn book or manual, Wherever You Go, There You Are. And it feels relevant to what's been coming up in our community around this gravitation towards mindfulness for a sense of inner respite, and also the difficulties that can come up with this practice that seems so simple. It seems like this practice of just not doing anything at all. So while it may be simple to practice mindfulness, it's not necessarily easy. Mindfulness requires effort and discipline for the simple reason that the forces that work against our being mindful, namely our habitual unawareness and automaticity, are exceedingly tenacious. They are so strong and much out of our consciousness that an inner commitment and a certain kind of work are necessary just to keep up our attempts to capture our moments in awareness and sustain mindfulness. But it is an intrinsically satisfying work because it puts us in touch with many aspects of our lives that are habitually overlooked and lost to us. It's also liberating work. Mindfulness can help us appreciate feelings such as joy, peacefulness, and happiness, which often go by fleetingly and unacknowledged. It is liberating in that it leads to new ways of being in our own skin and in the world, which can free us from the ruts we so often fall into. It's empowering as well because paying attention in this way opens channels to deep reservoirs of creativity, intelligence, imagination, clarity, determination, choice, and wisdom within us. We tend to be particularly unaware that we are thinking virtually all the time. The incessant stream of thoughts flowing through our minds leaves us very little respite for inner quiet. And we leave precious little room for ourselves anyway, just to be, without having to run around doing things all the time. Our actions are all too frequently driven, rather than undertaken in awareness, driven by those perfectly ordinary thoughts and impulses that run through the mind like a coursing river, if not a waterfall. We get caught up in the torrent and it winds up submerging our lives as it carries us to places we may not wish to go and may not even realize we're headed for. Meditation means learning how to get out of this current, sit by its bank and listen to it, learn from it, and then use its energies to guide us rather than tyrannize us. This process doesn't magically happen by itself, it takes energy. We call the effort to cultivate our ability to be in the present moment practice, or meditation practice, what we're doing here today. So I'll finish this reading with a quote from the book, I Am That. The question is, how can I set right a tangle which is entirely below my level of consciousness? The answer, by being with yourself, by watching yourself in your daily life with alert interest, with the intention to understand rather than to judge, in full acceptance of whatever may emerge, because it is there. You encourage the deep to come to the surface and enrich your life and consciousness with its captive energies. This is the great work of awareness. It removes obstacles and releases energies by understanding the nature of life and mind. Intelligence is the door to freedom, and alert attention is the mother of intelligence. So allowing those words to be part of this body of water or river of thought that's always moving through, and just allowing the awareness that's already here to notice what's arising, whether that's a feeling of resonance with the words, or perhaps distraction, or worry, or judgment, or boredom, or some kind of emotion arising. It doesn't matter what's here for you, just noticing what is here, just how it is, without trying to add to it or push it away. Almost as if you're putting out a welcome mat for yourself at this moment to life as it's manifesting through you, in whatever form that takes. So maybe your body is speaking to you, or there's sounds outside the door, or the computer screen is reminding you of something you need to be doing in the next hour, and all of that's welcome as we bring our attention just to this moment. And then allowing the awareness to attend to a particular anchor point in this moment. So that's often the breath. You can choose to follow the breath at a particular location in the chest or nose or throat, riding the waves of the inhales and exhales. Or maybe the anchor for you today is the feeling of your feet on the floor. Or if your eyes are open, maybe it's the sight of an object, a tree outside the window, or something in the room with you, something small, or maybe it's soundscape, the sound of my voice and the spaces between the sounds in the room, just choosing one anchor point and allowing the attention to just gravitate towards this object as if you're shining a flashlight on it. And everything else that's alive for you now, whether they're physical sensations or emotions or mental stories or judgments, just allowing them to be on the sidelines. You might notice that they're there, part of this picture, and that's fine. Just bringing the spotlight of the attention back to this anchor point. Really inviting any curiosity that arises here as you attend to this object moment by moment, as if you're attending to the waves rising and falling on the shore. Continuing to come back to just this moment, the only moment that we actually have access to. Noticing that when we're pulled away from just this breath or just this moment, that that's a storyline about the past or the future that's not actually alive and unfolding. So gently coming back to wherever this object is unfolding for you here, whether it's noticing its texture, temperature, warmth, or coolness, or if you're following the breath, you might notice the spaciousness, its expansion and contraction, as if you're experiencing it for the first time. You know, we don't have to teach mindfulness to children, just bearing witness to how a child attends to just this moment, just this breath, just this finger in front of them, the fascination, this curiosity of how much is actually here in this moment. Seeing if we can access that attentiveness to the present. That's our birthright. And if you notice the mind wandering or feelings of impatience or feeling lost or distracted or anything other than attending to the object, then welcome to the practice, and without judgment, just noticing that as you gently bring your attention back to the unfolding, moment by moment, breath by breath. Again, what's here for you in this object? Is it softness of the hands on the thighs, or the softness of the breath, or maybe a feeling of tightness somewhere in the chest, or whatever you're noticing in your object? Just noticing what's there, and how is it that you're noticing that? It's not that the mind is telling you what's here. This effortless awareness that already knows it's already aware and not needing to be added to. And if the mind is somewhere else, then you're realizing that's where it is. And maybe you're feeling a sense of patterning of where the mind is being pulled or where the body is being pulled if there's discomfort. And what happens when there isn't resistance to that distraction, but there's just a sigh of acknowledging, oh, that's where it is. And then as if you're bringing a small child home, just moving the attention from where it had gone to this present experience of your anchor point. You might notice the longer the pauses are between my guidance, there might be a response inwardly, discomfort or relief or some other kind of story, and just noticing that as you continue to come back to the anchor. And if there's something pulling your attention that's very strong, like a strong tangle or a strong knot or discomfort, there's always an option to shift the anchor to this knot in itself, riding the waves of this strong attention pull as if they're the lungs in the chest breathing you moment by moment, moving. We're not trying to change anything, we're just allowing whatever the focal point is to be fully here, unfolding, allowing us to stay rooted right here, right now. What happens when we don't resist, when we don't add to this moment? Even if that means not adding to judgment, just noticing judgment arising. So we gently come back to just this breath. Again, this practice is simple but not easy. This practice of surrendering to what's here, whatever it may be. And so offering some compassion and some gentleness. That you're showing up, that you're choosing to do this practice, and whatever you're experiencing here is part of your awareness and helping you to fall asleep, fall awake, rather than to fall asleep. And if we fall asleep, that's okay too, because the moment we do fall asleep and we notice it, there we are awake again. Not having to force anything, not having to strive for anything, just getting out of our own way. And if these words aren't resonating, or the mind is reacting in some way, then just noticing that, not needing to make anything profoundly resonant, just being with whatever arises. The sense of trust of the own inner awareness that's guiding. That this practice isn't about an instructor or the words that may be read or shared, that it's really just this homecoming to yourself. So allowing the last few moments of this practice in silence together, just moment by moment, whether you're with the anchor or open awareness, just being with whatever is arising in you. Trusting that it is exactly as it needs to be. And wherever you are in this moment with your attention, just allowing it to return to the sense of the body as a whole, sitting here or lying here. Perhaps a sense of gratitude for making this time in the middle of your day where you could choose to do anything with this half an hour of choosing this opportunity to connect inwardly, which ultimately nourishes not only yourself, but everyone around you. And I'll close with a poem and invite you to do what is called of you in today's practice, whether you want to stay for the community dialogue or leave. And if you leave, then thank you for joining us in practice today. I feel your presence in the sit with me, and there's gratitude. So this poem is called Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. Before you know what kindness really is, you must lose things. Feel the future dissolve in a moment, like salt in a weakened broth. What you held in your hand, what you counted and carefully saved, all this must go so you know how desolate the landscape can be between the regions of kindness. How you ride and ride, thinking the bus will never stop. The passengers eating maize and chicken will stare out the window forever. Before you learn the tender gravity of kindness, you must travel where the Indian in a white poncho lies dead by the side of the road. You must see how this could be you, how he too was someone who journeyed through the night with plans and the simple breath that kept him alive. Before you know kindness as the deepest thing inside, you must know sorrow as the other deepest thing. You must wake up with sorrow. You must speak it till your voice catches the thread of all sorrows, and you see the size of the cloth. Then it is only kindness that makes sense anymore. Only kindness that ties your shoes and sends you out into the day to mail letters and purchase bread. Only kindness that raises its head from the crowd of the world to say, "It is I you have been looking for," and then goes with you everywhere, like a shadow or a friend. So thank you so much, and hope you all feel connected and inwardly and carry this practice out into the rest of your day.